What's up, everybody? Thank you for listening.
There it is. There it is. We're back.
We're back to good old spooky stuff, weird stuff.
Sorry for last week, guys. I'm only sorry to people that didn't enjoy it. The rest of you, you're welcome. But the people that didn't enjoy it, I'm sorry. We're back. We're back to normal now. No. Well, I can't promise that we won't go on any nerdy tangents, but at least the topic will not be based. Not that the topic was, that was really just one long nerdy tangent, but I guess that's nature of the beast. Anyway, regular show this week, guys.
Right, I came across a YouTube video that was talking about hoaxes, and they brought up a few things that are near dear to our hearts, some that we've actually covered on the show before.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's funny because like these hoaxes come and go, and the only thing that we hear about it is that it's a hoax, and that's it. We forget about it. So I just wanted to look up a few things on the things that I heard and actually get to the bottom of what happened. How were they exposed?
Because the barn owls are behind everything.
They're half-assed.
Yeah, if it's a hoax, 99.9% of the time you can assume it's barn owls. Just ask Joe Nickel, he'll tell you. And I stand by him. Joe Nickel is the patron saint of the Whatcast.
Yeah, we're definitely not making fun of Joe Nickel when we say that.
But we kind of are, but also we're not.
We've seen a few hoaxes in our time. What do you think of, or maybe a better question is, how do you feel when something cool comes up and it's exposed as a hoax?
It's just like oh man, it sucks, especially when it's something like a classic case that you've been following forever, and then all of a sudden it's revealed 10 years later that it's been a hoax the whole time. God damn it, that sucks.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot of people that are convinced that the Patterson-Gimlin film is a hoax because that one dude said, that was me that was just doing it. But there's so many people that still think that's real, and I don't remember which one, if it was Patterson or Gimlin, that's still alive, that's maintains that it's 100% legitimate. But if he ever came out and said it was fake, I would be so sad.
Yeah, you've made some good points as far as that footage goes as to why you believe it's authentic, and like I said, they're great points. They're points I never thought of. Yeah, that would definitely suck. Yeah, I think I like reading on these things that we're going to talk about. I kind of noticed in myself, I have to be honest, I after going through some of these hoaxes, it was like the birth of the little cynical skeptic in me, I guess. And now when something comes up, it's now automatically bullshit. And it's probably because of the shit we've been hoaxed with.
Yeah. Honestly, when we started this show, I was very much a believer and thought, I like to think that I was open-minded, but I think I was more prone to believing than anything, just because I wanted to believe. So it was like, fuck, man, if there's a possibility, I gotta go with it. But the more we do this show and the more research I do, I'm just so quick to call bullshit on everything. So I'm very interested to see where we go on this road, and whether or not I'm gonna be sad or angry or excited. Hey, calm down, you two. Fucking hell. Sorry, guys. I got you. You might hear some ruckus in the background. I adopted a pair of rats a couple weeks ago, and they like to wrestle at night. So my apologies if you hear them. It's better than the crickets, at least.
Oh God, those goddamn crickets.
Remember those? God damn, that sucked back in the day.
Yeah.
Any of our old listeners might remember on a lot of the old episodes, there used to be crickets chirping constantly in the background.
Yep. But now it's just rat wrestling. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, no, it's
all
rat
rats.
wrestling.
They all test their might at nighttime by wrestling each other. Age-old tradition.
Yeah, it is. It's like a form of leg wrestling. But, sometimes it gets a little violent.
That's how Master Splinter got so good. He was just one of the rats that was really good at this leg wrestling technique.
Yeah, and that was the one that mutated because he had the genes that could handle it.
Yeah. He didn't turn big on monstrous like Bebop and Rocksteady or Toka and Rezar or Slash.
He maintained his composure.
Yep. He was an honorable rat.
Yeah. You know what? That pissed me off in the movie when they said that he was a rat that mutated into a humanoid rat instead of being the human that was like hanging out with rats and became a rat as a result.
Right. Yeah. There was no Hamato Yoshi.
Yeah.
There was just...
No, there was, but he was the pet rat.
Right.
And Hamato Yoshi got killed. And then for some reason Oroku Saki just slashed Splinter. He didn't kill the rat. And then the rat got revenge.
Yeah, when I saw that as a kid, when he hit the rat with the sword, I was like, hey, what the fuck?
Yeah, come on. And for one, like, how weak are you that you couldn't chop a rat in half with a sword, for one? I mean, you just murdered a human. 2 humans.
Yeah, 2.
And then you can't even cut a rat in half. You just give it a little cut. And then some reason it follows you to New York and becomes a ninja master.
Raises a team of turtles that he can make sure it can fuck you up.
I mean, if he cut that rat in half, there would be no Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
That's it. He created his own enemy. You brought this on yourself. Damn you, Oroku Saki. Damn you.
Oh, man.
All right. So nerdy tangents like right out the gate, I guess.
Right, yeah, I guess
we
so.
haven't even gotten to the first hoax yet, and we're talking about goddamn Ninja Turtles.
All right, yeah, let's jump to the first hoax. The first one I wanted to cover is a favorite that we all know and love, and it's the ever famous alien autopsy video. I gotta ask you, Mike.
The best.
Yeah, the best. Did you watch that as like when it came out, or did you watch it later in life?
I remember downloading it on AOL, like in the mid 90s. Well, like I guess it would be more the later 90s, like probably like 98, 97, somewhere in there.
Okay, so not too far after it came out.
Yeah. And that was my first time seeing it. And to be completely honest with you, I didn't even watch the whole thing because I was like, this is just fucking boring. Like, you can't even really tell what's going on. It's all black and white. Like, it doesn't really look real. Like, it's one of those things that, like, it could be real, but it doesn't look real. But I think if you were, like, watching any sort of autopsy in that sort of situation, like, it would look real, but not real.
Yeah, that's something I've noticed about, like, it's like a side effect of being a fucking creepy weirdo and watching people die on the internet when you're a kid, is that you realize how good of a job, like, people do in special effects in movies. So much that, like,
they make it look more real than real.
Yeah.
So when you see real, it doesn't, you're like, no, that's not real.
Yeah.
Like, it's way more realistic in movies. And then it's like, nah, dude, that's reality, bud.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they make it seem more real than real. That's a good way to put it. But if you guys haven't heard of the alien autopsy video, it was a special that was broadcasted in 1995 by Fox Television. And it was called Alien Autopsy, Fact or Fiction. It was presented by none other than William T. Riker himself, Jonathan Frakes. And it
oh shit.
Yeah. I think that's what spawned him doing that other show where I think it's called Fact or Fiction, where there's a clip on the internet of him just saying false. That's not true. No, not true. Like 50 times, different ones.
Yeah, I love that. It's so good.
Yeah. But it showcased, like Mike said, a long video. It was an hour special, but it showcased this 17-minute long black and white film of, you guessed it, an alien autopsy an autopsy on alien bodies recovered from the infamous 1947 Roswell crash.
The Roswell crash. That also might be a hoax. Is the Roswell crash number 2 on this list, Mateo?
No, that's
okay.
I don't know. I that's something like I don't. For some reason, when I was a kid, that got real popular again, and there was like a lot of stuff going on about it. So I know I knew a lot about it. I just don't know what to make of it. Still, I mean, like if we look at what they've
I'm
done,
the same way.
Yeah, like if you look at how they've handled other things and how the direction of all that weird shit went, like it wouldn't put it past me if they tried to just hoax it off or call it a hoax. It's
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Have we ever even covered Roswell on the show?
We had to have during like the UFO crashes episode, like, but
I don't think we actually cut. I mean, not that like I don't think we should because it's been covered to death. There's really, I'm sure nobody wants to hear us talk about it except for like maybe 2 people. There's probably 2 of you listening right now that are like, fuck, dude, I would love to hear a Roswell episode. And then there's probably 1 of you out there that's like, fuck you guys, you did do it. It's episode number 3. And it wasn't episode 3, by the way. But I don't have any recollection of doing it, and I don't think we should. But it's worth noting, I suppose.
Yeah. I gotta make sure to put the video for the autopsy in the show notes. I'm sure I can find it on YouTube.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's definitely on YouTube nowadays. At least a condensed version, because wasn't the original video like 30 minutes long or something?
From what I know, it was just 17 minutes long. That's how long the video
was. 17 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it just seemed like it was longer. Like I said, I like watched it for a few minutes and moved it ahead, and then watched it, and then I was like, okay, that's good enough. I got the gist.
Yeah, there's a lot of bogus shots in there. There's a lot of like I don't know, maybe somebody's talking to somebody else while they're like pointing the camera down. But I mean, being a kid and watching it, it was pretty gnarly. It looked really good. They had a lot of specialists talking about it. They even had Stan Winston, from the dude famous for his fantastic, practical effects in movies. But yeah, it was pretty weird to see, and you didn't hear anything about it. The only thing that they would say about the origin of this video, that it was brought forward by a quote London-based entrepreneur who we know now is a dude named Ray Santilli. It was reported that film director John Jobson was tasked by producer Robert Kiviat to direct parts of Alien Autopsy, including an interview with Santilli. But after interviewing Santilli, Jobson returned exclaiming the whole thing was a fucking hoax. And but everybody involved agreed that they were too far into doing this special to call it quits now. So they kept it as quiet as they could, at least till this special could air. And doing the research, I was surprised to hear that there was an interview with this Santilli guy, because I remember that's when they aired it, there was no interview with him, and they didn't really go into detail of who they got it from. They just said it was a London-based entrepreneur, businessman type guy.
Just some rich dude. Some crusty old white rich dude.
Right, yeah. I did research on him, and he's like a film and music producer. He's just one of these guys.
Oh, like an entertainment mogul.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, well, have his people call my people then.
But it was officially exposed as a hoax in 2006. I guess in the UK.
Really? I thought it was way earlier than that.
Yeah, I was a little bit shocked to see that it was that late to where somebody actually confirmed that it was fake. I mean, in the special, they did a good job at analyzing the footage, like that a specialist about film, reel-to-reel film, like it would have been filmed on, saying it matches the time period of the Roswell crash. There was even somebody on there, it might have been Winston on there talking about how the shit in the background matched up for the time, like the wall clock, the telephone that was in the room.
Yeah, and I remember this stuff about the blood as well. Like they were commenting on the way that the blood flowed, like how that's not something you can do in Hollywood. And then when it came out that it was a hoax, he's like, yeah, we just used one of those knives that you run it down and the blood flows out.
Right. Well, there's something I'll say about Winston at the end of this. But in 2006, I guess in the UK, there was a movie made about this story, and I guess it was a comedy, so it drummed up a few new like specials and reports on the original case. And one special was a documentary called, so this name's strange, Emon Investigates Alien Autopsy. And in this documentary, he actually interviews Santilli along with another film producer named Gary Shoefield. And they fully admitted to making the film themselves.
Like just the two of them?
Yeah. And Santilli said that it was actually a recreation of a film that he was shown in 1992 depicting an actual alien autopsy.
Oh, okay. All right, buddy.
Yeah.
No. So you see, I put it out as a real thing, but really it was a hoax that we filmed that was based on a real one, and that's what it was. It was just based on a true story that I personally witnessed. And you can believe me because this whole time I've been straightforward with you guys the whole time. And yeah. Bullshit.
Yeah.
Bullshit, Santilli.
You can't say that now, dude.
I just did.
That's kind of a
bullshit.
That's a question I have for you when it comes to these hoaxes. Well, first off, like, what hoax bummed you out the most? And two, what are these fucking people thinking when it's just going to come out that it's a hoax anyway? It's not like the hoaxes that have been busted were hard to bust.
I don't know which one. Like, there's really, I get irritated with anybody who's hoaxing evidence of these things being real, just because there's so much legitimate research that could be put into these subjects. And when anyone goes out there, and especially a high profile thing, and does this hoax, and that becomes like, you know, the quote unquote smoking gun for evidence, and then it's like, oh no, that was a hoax. Like, all you're doing is for one, taking away from the seriousness of the subject, and two, muddying the waters, because then it's every single thing that comes out, no one's going to believe it. And maybe that's the point in a lot of these cases, like the Dick Doty stuff, the Richard Doty, Paul Bennowitz stuff. I think that's the point, is to muddy those waters. And we've talked about this a million times, but it irritates the shit out of me, man. Like, if you're going to do a hoax of something, make it a hoax of something that's non-existent. Like, make your own cryptid and go be some fucking crazy cryptid that creeps through the backwoods of some suburb somewhere and scare a few people and then disappear, and you'll be the next fucking the next Flatwoods Monster or something. Like, I think that's awesome, and that's hilarious to me. But like, if you're getting in there and you're being like, oh, I've got evidence that ghosts exist, and then you're like, oh, really, all that was a projection that we put on a clear piece of plastic, and that was our ghost, then that's bullshit. Or using fucking drones or those sky lanterns tied together as a UFO and you know, like, that there's legitimate research being done on these subjects. Like, no one's out there looking for unheard of cryptids and reporting on it. So like, if you're gonna hoax, do something fucking awesome and be original. Don't muddy the waters for real research. It's bullshit.
Dude, when I found out the surgeon's photo of Nessie was fake, like, my heart was
such
broken.
a bummer.
Yeah,
that biggest bummer ever. And the funny thing is, that was revealed as fake, like, before we even knew what Nessie was.
Right.
Probably.
We just saw this photo.
Yeah. But and a lot of people did. Like, even now, it's not like something that the average person knows. You know, like, they'll have their doubts or whatever, but the average person doesn't know it's been confirmed as a hoax. But it is such a bummer.
Yeah. But socially, what do you think's wrong with these fucking people who are going to hoax these things like this? I mean, we talked about, the creatures of the lumber woods, and And that other story, where there's that book that was called "Always Lie to Strangers" about people in the South and rural areas, to where that's kind of like a tradition. Even reading up on some of the things that I talked about tonight, like a news report said, it's like a time honored tradition to tell tall tales in that area. So, like, besides that, like a cultural thing, what do you think's wrong with these people who are going to fake things that are eventually, just going to be debunked?
I think it's just an attention thing. That's all. I wouldn't say there's something wrong with them. They just, some people just thrive on attention, and it's just kind of the way it goes. I mean, look at social media and reality TV. It's just people being self-indulgent. A lot of it is like, hey, look at me. Let me post about all of this, and then maybe I'll get a response. And it's just the way people are, and to varying degrees. And some people just they don't care if they're going to be ridiculed because it's still attention,
right?
And maybe with the surgeon's photo, maybe that was because P.T. Barnum made such a big deal about catching evidence of it, and maybe it was kind of spawned by that.
Oh, well, the next one I want to talk about is another one of my favorites. It's something that, authentically freaked me out when I heard it. It's a sound clip that's connected to the story, and it's the ever famous Sounds from Hell. Do you remember that, Mike?
Yes, I do.
I think that was something we covered early on, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't think we did a full episode on it. I think it was like an episode that we had covered a couple of different subjects, and that was one of them.
Right. I find that audio, no matter what it is, we'll get to what it is, but I find it fantastically fucking scary and truly off-putting. What did you think of when you first heard it?
When I heard it, I instantly thought it was fake, but it was fucking terrifying.
Isn't it? Just that clip of fucking audio is scary, man.
Because it's like, you don't know what the hell that is. Like, I don't believe that it's a recording of hell, but it's so fucking unnerving, whatever it is.
Yeah, I started to hope rather quickly that it was fake. But this story's been traced all the way back to the 80s. But when I came across it, the story was a team of engineers in Siberia, led by a man only known as Mr. Azkov, set out to drill as deep into the earth as humanly possible. And at 8.9 miles, that's 14.4 kilometers, they hit a cavern. So basically a big pocket in the earth. Surprised, they decided to lower some sensory equipment down into the empty space, including a microphone. And every time you hear this story, they say it's a super heat resistant microphone. And I guess that would need to be the case because they reported temperatures of over 1,000 degrees down in this cavern. But what made the story so interesting were the sounds that they recorded, this clip that me and Mike were just talking about. It's just the sounds of what they're, that's why they call this Sounds from Hell. It sounds like a huge group of people just screaming and wailing in pain and in torture. Right, Mike? That's what you'd call it?
That's exactly what I would call it, yeah.
But like I said, the story has been around for a while, but what brought it to our attention was the resurgence of this story on the internet in the early 2000s. Christian radio host Rich Bueller reportedly tracked down the origin of the story after he came across it, and his study found out that it was first published in a Finnish newspaper ran by Pentecostal Christians. Bueller said that he interviewed the publishers of that paper, and they stated the story was constructed from the recollections of a letter printed in another newspaper article. Bueller was able to track down the author of that letter, who told him he constructed the story by drawing from a story he had seen in a Christian newsletter from 1989. He then contacted the publishers of that article, who said that they got the story from another newsletter called Jewels of Jericho, that was published by a group of Masonic Jews in California. I don't know when the audio clip became attached to the story. That's probably something
I would imagine that probably got attached once it got loaded to the internet.
Right, so like in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
but somebody actually was able to find the audio clip that's used in this Sounds from Hell story in another movie. It comes from a 1972 Italian horror film, Barren Blood.
Barren Blood. Awesome.
Yeah, so that one's clearly debunked. I mean, even with some physical evidence there of somebody being able to find the original clip used.
Yeah. But that story still pops up in like Christian websites and newsletters and stuff.
Oh yeah?
I think that's when we covered it the first time, it was making its rounds through Christian circles at that point, like as proof of hell and for a reason to fear God and all that.
Yeah, I can't waste a good story that scares the shit out of people, right?
Yeah, man, fear's the great motivator.
Yeah, but I love that story when it came out, dude. It's like the perfect paranormal story. I mean, nothing about it makes sense. Like dropping sensors down into there, like, and then like a heat-proof microphone, like they're just going to have that on hand. I don't know. I think hell would be a little bit deeper than 8 miles underground.
Yeah, I would hope it was more than 8 miles.
But I still loved it. It's such a spooky story. It seems like one of these,
yeah, especially with that sound, because it does sound like hell.
Isn't it just as awful as like the first time you heard it?
Yeah, even knowing it's fake, it's still really unnerving.
It is. I'll put it in the show notes. It'd be pointless to play it here. It's so old and just full of artifacts and distortion that it'd be better if you heard it not from a third source. So you'll be able to, I'll put a video where it plays the original clip of Sounds from Hell, and then the guy plays a clip from that movie, Barren Blood, Blood Baron, whatever.
You should just edit the audio in.
Yeah, I'll see if it's good enough quality. I'll do that. Right now, I'll do that. That's when I'll do it.
With a little imagine, you'd be able to envision torches and hear the screams that echoed.
If it didn't play, it wasn't possible. I'm sorry. It's the power of time travel, baby.
That's what you get.
So yeah, I didn't want to talk about him in too much depth, but another recent hoax was the monoliths. That one was kind of weird when it started, though. Huh? They just kept popping up everywhere.
Yeah. Oh man, the fucking monolith. What a time to be alive.
Right? I was so stoked that happened, like in my lifetime, something goofy like that, because it wasn't obvious right away. You know, we were just like, all right, let's see where this goes, and the next day was somewhere else across the world, and the next day another one popped up. There's a couple days there of what the fuck's going on. The aliens are gonna come and start blowing shit up, man.
If only. God, that'd be the best.
That would be the best.
Yeah, one of these days.
Yeah, we're overdue. All right, so the last hoax that I wanted to talk about is another one that we've been around to experience, and I don't know if you watched this as this happened or came across it later. I believe we talked about it a little bit when it happened on the show, but it's the Georgia Bigfoot body hoax. Do you remember anything about that?
Is this the one where the dude said he had the body in his freezer, and then when they ended up unthawing it, it was just a costume that was frozen in a block of ice?
Yeah, that's the one.
It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, I remember watching this as it happened, and many people were taking it very seriously. It was reported on the news everywhere, like CNN and the New York Times and shit. But for those who aren't familiar with the case, we've talked about it in passing a bunch of times. I talk about the press conference they had for it, but we'll get to that. But if you're not familiar, in 2008, two hikers, Matthew Winton and Rick Dyer, reported to the press while exploring the woodlands of northern Georgia, they had come across a Bigfoot den. And they used the term den because it was kind of like a cave structure complete with 3 Bigfoot occupants. I didn't remember that about the story. Did you?
No, I don't really like. I vaguely remember the story about him getting it. I remember more the aftermath, like where he had it frozen and was not willing to let anybody see it for a while for some reason. Like he had to wait to show it to people. Like there's just a lot of sketchy stuff about it.
Yeah, there's some stuff that I didn't notice that a news report that I watched pointed out. It was pretty funny. But yeah, we'll get there. But as they made their way closer to the den, they claimed that they stumbled upon the corpse of a 7 foot 7 inches tall, 500 plus pound male Bigfoot. They decided to drag the body back to their vehicle, get it home, and get it on ice. They said that while they tried to remain undetected, that they had made enough noise to catch the other very much alive Bigfoot's attention. And although they remained hidden, they said that the 3 other Bigfoots followed them for a while as they made the retreat, and they were able to take photos and even video of these living big feet. They told the press that they would be presenting the body as well as photographic and video evidence and DNA evidence to back up their claims, and that they were planning a press conference in a few days. So again, I remember watching this as it happened, and you hear about Bigfoot hoaxes when you study Bigfoot, right? I mean, there's always a section in those books that we read when we were a kid. Yeah. Even like, it took me a long time. It took me getting into some Dr. Jeff Meldrum stuff pretty heavy to take the Bigfoot casting serious. What's your thoughts on all those Bigfoot casts in general?
The foot casts?
Yeah. Is that much evidence for you?
I think, yeah, in a lot of cases there are, and especially listening to Jeff Meldrum, and I know a lot of, the dude, for one, he's a doctor and a professor in anthropology. So the dude, he's not just some fucking crackpot. But I know a lot of his critics say that he's too quick to believe the evidence that he's seeing. But with the casts that he has, he makes a very good argument for why they're real. He talks about the creases on the foot and how you can see, every foot on, at least human feet have their own crease patterns on the foot. And in the tracks, some of the track casts that he has, you can actually see those crease patterns in the bottom of the foot. And he also has various prints where you can see like different weight distribution, so you can actually see like how the foot would have stepped instead of just someone with like a stamp just going boom boom, like the classic picture of the hoaxer with the big wooden foot on a 2x4 just marking feet in the mud. But where you can actually see the like where the heel and the base of the toes hit, the points on our feet that would hit are similar to the where these Bigfoot prints indicate. And I think I remember him talking about another time when I don't remember if it was him or a researcher that he was close with, where they found a mark on a riverbed that had it looked like something had sat down in the mud, and it had like you could see the pattern of the fur in the mud.
Oh wow.
And it was like a large humanoid shape, where it would look like a large human if they were sitting in the mud, what that would look like. So I think in some cases the casts are good evidence, and I would say if he's able to explain why it's good evidence, then I'm inclined to believe what he's saying.
Right. I may be wrong about this, but I think when I did that deep dive into his stuff, he mentioned even becoming an expert on like dermatology of animals, specifically primates and stuff, because he has so many casts with dermal ridging in it and stuff. He even has if I'm not mistaken, a couple casts where their cast even picked up like scars on the feet of whatever left the print, and he's like, that's something that's like almost like impossible to do.
Yeah, I think so.
So he's got some good evidence there. So, like I said, this got around fast. It was being reported on every fucking news station in the world, like I said, including CNN and the New York Times. So the time for the press conference had come, and it took place on a Friday. The two hikers had reached out to a gentleman named Steve Coles, who ran a website and podcast called The Squatch Detective, who, of course, interviewed the hikers and was apparently one of the few that were going to be allowed to examine the corpse once it was thawed out. He, in turn, contacted the renowned self-proclaimed real Bigfoot hunter. And I don't know, this guy's been doing Bigfoot hunting and research since 1971, so he's a hair a bit of our time, but I don't recognize his name. Maybe you do, Mike, but his cryptozoologist Tom Biscardi. Does that sound familiar to you at all?
No, that's not a familiar name to me.
Well, apparently at the time he was the dude to fucking call. But he was selected to represent the hikers at this press conference. And that's who showed up, is these two hikers and Tom Biscardi. And I've talked about this press conference many times on the show. It was nice to finally put a name to the guy that I mentioned. And he stuck out to me when I watched this press conference. And again, remember, I watched this like as it was happening. I saw the news reports. I was waiting for this press conference to happen. And I always mention how hardcore this Bigfoot expert went on how this was the real deal. Like he was a little theatric. I watched a little bit of the press conference doing research for this, and a reporter asks him straight out, is this a hoax? And everybody laughed, which I didn't get, but it will make sense later. And he just stops and looks up, and he grabs his glasses slowly and pulls them off his face real fast, and he says, "It's as real as you standing there, sir." He was just going all in.
I remember seeing that.
Yeah. He was just going all in on this fucking Bigfoot body that these dudes were saying that they had. And that's what was funny. But this Biscotti was claiming to have examined what he could of the block of ice that was this Bigfoot corpse. He even said that famed Stanford University anthropologist Richard Klein would be examining the corpse. He said that there were DNS taken, 3 separate DNA tests taken, and 2 of them were inconclusive, and one that revealed something that was related to an opossum. But this press conference kicked everything into high gear, so it was time to kind of shit or get off the pot. And Knowles suggested that they expedite the thawing process, which Biscotti approved, and that took place Saturday, the next day. And it was at this thawing that one of the Bigfoots was exposed, where on examination by Coles was proven to be, in fact, Your Honor, a rubber monkey suit. Now, Coles immediately posted. Coles immediately posted the news on his website, and the cover was blown. He revealed that the hikers requested an undisclosed amount of money for access to the Bigfoot. 2 days after receiving the payment, Coles and Biscotti's Searching for Bigfoot team retrieved access to the body, so it did seem legit. But alas, it was fake. Coles even mentioned that they were able to take some hair off of this Bigfoot thing and to burn it to see how it reacted. He said it shrunk into a ball as if it was made of some type of plastic fiber. So
lame.
Yeah. So he basically washed his hands about it. And we just heard that it was a hoax, so I kind of wanted to see what happened. The hikers, nobody could find them. Biscotti even said that he contacted them by phone and got them to agree to a meet at their hotel. I guess this is the next day. They haven't even left from where they had this press conference. And another thing about the press conference, this Bigfoot was found in Georgia, and they had this press conference in Palo Alto, California, here in the Bay Area. But he said that he got them to agree to meet at their hotel and sign some sort of promissory admittance of hoax type of note. But when he got there, the staff reported that they had checked out before he got there, and that these two guys even missed an appearance on CNN that was set for that Monday. But it was eventually reported that Winton and Dyer were both police officers, and supposedly Dyer was fired for this stunt, and that Dyer actually had some type of, he owned and ran some type of Bigfoot tour. So this was basically a publicity stunt. And the Biscotti dude, the guy who was so vehement at the press conference that this was as real as you're listening to this podcast now, sir or ma'am. I kind of felt bad for the guy after learning about like what really happened, you know. So I was kind of like, what do we do with this guy? Was he just an unlucky cryptozoologist dude who 100% believed that they had the real deal? And I'd like that to be the case, but no, not at all. He revealed in Cole's statement, it revealed that Biscardi had admitted to him that the hikers told him, the same day of the press conference, right after the press conference, that this was fake. So I guess he just kept it to himself and let everybody continue waiting for this thing to dissolve or thaw out. And so he's kind of at fault there. Dr. Klein, the anthropologist from Stanford, even came out and said that he had never agreed to examine this Bigfoot corpse, that he had no plans to do that. So I guess Biscardi just threw his name out there. So there's strike 2, and finally strike 3 for Biscardi. He had been in hot water for presenting a hoax as fact just 3 years earlier, 2005.
So he's a repeat offender.
Yeah.
Wow.
There had been a rash of sightings of a Bigfoot in a place called Happy Valley, California. And what I don't know, I think is a pretty fucking bold move. Biscardi went on Coast to Coast AM, claiming that he and his team, his Sasquatch detectives, were 98% sure they could capture said Bigfoot. And when nothing came of that, he went back on Coast to Coast and claimed that he had been informed of a live captured Bigfoot located in Arizona, and that he would live stream this creature on his website, and you could see it for a fee of $14.99.
Oh my God.
Right.
Fuck this guy.
Lo and behold, the day of where this stream was supposed to take place, Biscardi announced that he had been hoodwinked and there was no such specimen that existed. It took George Norrie himself demanding on air that Biscardi refund everyone's money before he even offered to do so. But he eventually offered to give everybody back their money. So not also has he been debunked through physical evidence, but he's a potential shyster as well. But in my book, that guy's a hoax himself. He's like
he's a barn owl.
It's a shame to hear that he's been a cryptozoologist since 1971, and then to have that, maybe, like I said, maybe he believed it the first time, but I don't know what even happened with the Happy Valley Bigfoot capturing thing. It just, in my research, I guess nothing just came of it. So he was just like, okay, next thing. So it just seems like he was trying to, I don't know, maybe not prove Bigfoot exists, but get famous off proving Bigfoot exists. But yeah, that's those guys. Cole's guy said he tried to call Biscotti back, and a woman answered the phone and said that he was sick and he didn't know when he'd be well enough to come back to the office and continue working. The two hikers, the guys that ended up being, one guy was a prison guard, the other guy was a police officer. And I believe it was Dyer who was the actual police officer. He got fired. Supposedly, their phone numbers were disconnected and nobody can find them.
Well, that's not shady at all.
Nope. I always wondered how that went down, but that's how that happened.
Yeah, fuck those guys, man. Fuck those guys.
Yeah, I mean, it was a matter of a press conference on Friday, and then like Saturday and Sunday, it was all over. They said that Cole said that Dyer, one of the hiker dudes, insisted that this press conference had to happen on Friday, and even threatened that if they didn't make this press conference happen on by Friday, they wouldn't share any evidence with
That
him.
wouldn't be it. Well, so we got to rush it. Otherwise, nobody gets anything. Discovery of the century, but fuck you guys because you didn't make it tomorrow. Oh, God. Yeah, I remember when, before he had the press conference, when he was like shopping around the idea of revealing the evidence and like explaining what he had. And it was just such bullshit. I knew. And then when I finally found out what the big deal was, I'm like, fucking figures.
Yeah, the picture that they were sharing at the press conference of the frozen body, it has its entrails hanging out and everything. It looked kind of interesting, but you know.
But yeah, you freeze some latex in a block of ice where you can't see it clearly, and it will look pretty interesting.
Yeah, no shit. But it was just when that happened. I don't know why. Maybe it was like that wishful thinking, that skeptic demon inside of me hadn't broke free yet, and I was just so shocked to find it was a hoax. Like, I mean, honestly, what else would it be? But I mean, those guys obviously wanted money for their shit, their supposed story, and they got it. And as soon as they did, they disappeared. I mean, they held their press conference as far away from Georgia as they could. They had it in Palo Alto. Funny enough, Stanford was just right there. So this Dr. Klein dude, it would have been no problem for him to come down and examine it. But he said that Biscotti actually telephoned him and asked him, you know, about examining it. Like, what do you think about it? And he said that he wouldn't do it. He didn't know why anybody would do that, waste their time on examining something that has such a low probability of existing. But I watched a news report that they were talking about it, and they covered the press conference. I'll put it in the show notes so you can hear this Biscotti guy, you know, be so fucking this huge shove on this thing being real. And one of the news reporters, after they play their story, goes, you know, these guys, these two hiker guys, you know, they couldn't think of anything to do with the body but throw it in the freezer, but they've had time to open up a website and then have custom hats made for the website. And then I looked again, and they're wearing the same hat with their web address across the top of the hat. There's a lot of yeah, I was like, what the fuck? I was like, that guy makes an excellent point.
Yeah, fuck those guys.
Yeah, that's shitty of them, dude. It's definitely muddies the water. I mean, like, I wasn't a little kid when that fucking happened, but I was like, whoa, what the fuck? Interesting. It was weird to hear CNN say that going to be a fucking press conference with these two guys that say they have a Bigfoot corpse on ice. It was all over the fucking place. So it definitely got my attention. I paid attention to what was going to happen next. But yeah, that sucked to have it be a hoax. Like I was saying, those guys wanted money, and they got their money and fucking disappeared. And I don't know, like I said, one of the dudes supposedly got fired from his job for being part of that because they did take money, and it ended up being bullshit. But it boggles my mind. Like, what are you going to do after that? Like, how many people went to Dyer's fucking Bigfoot tour after they found out? They just bullshitted everybody and wasted everybody's time. Like, I don't get their thought process on hoaxing something like we were talking about before, it being part of some areas' cultures. That's true, but they're not out there on TV trying to sell it as truth. They're not going out of their way and contacting the media trying to get paid for it. Just so bizarre.
Yeah, it really is. I don't get it, and I don't appreciate it.
No, it changed the way I looked at Bigfoot forever.
You've ruined Christmas, you sons of bitches.
Thank you for listening to the Whatcast. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, iTunes, and YouTube. Enjoy the podcast. Get yourself a Whatcast t-shirt or a sticker pack. Who was that dude on that one episode? Try the links in Homie's page. All this and more can be found at www.thewhatcasters.com. Thanks again for listening and have a great week.